I want you to take a second and just picture the most boring, mundane thing on your computer right now. I'm not talking about that spreadsheet you've been avoiding. I'm talking about, the digital equivalent of a scrap of paper. I'm talking about Notepad.
It is, yeah. It's arguably the most innocuous tool in the entire Windows arsenal. It's been sitting there since, Windows 1.0 back in 1985. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the furniture of the operating
Yeah.
system. It's just there.
And that's the thing, though. We trust it because it's simple. It doesn't have macros like Excel. It doesn't run scripts. It's just text. Or, well, that's what we thought. But we are doing a deep dive today into a revelation that turns that trust completely on its head.
It really does. We're looking at a stack of reports, and the main one is a piece from BleepingComputer by Lawrence Abrams from February 11, 2026. And honestly, the headline alone is enough to make a security professional spill their coffee.
The headline is, Windows 11 Notepad flaw let files execute silently via Markdown links. So our mission today is to unpack exactly what that means. We aren't just talking about a glitch, where the app crashes. We're talking about CVE 2026-2841.
Which is a remote code execution flaw, an RCE. That is the big one.
Right. And we're going to explore how modernizing these old legacy tools, trying to teach an old dog new tricks, actually created this massive security hole. A hole that let hackers take over a machine just because someone clicked a link in a text file.
It's a classic tragedy of software development. It's a story about feature creep meeting legacy code. And the irony is just palpable. In February 2026, the humble Notepad became a gateway for silent attacks.
So let's back up a bit before we get into the really scary how-to part of this. We need to understand the evolution here. Because for, 40 years, Notepad was just Notepad. Why change it now?
Precisely. For decades, it was just a plain text editor. Developers used it to strip formatting out of code. Regular users use it for grocery lists. It was fast, it was lightweight, and most importantly, it was dumb.
Dumb is good.
Insecurity. Dumb is fantastic. Dumb means it doesn't do anything unexpected. If you wanted fancy bold text, italics, that kind of thing, you didn't use Notepad.
You'd use Word. Or I guess if you're in that weird middle ground, you'd use WordPad.
And that is actually a crucial piece of the puzzle here. WordPad was the bridge. It was a rich text format editor that came free with Windows. But recently, with the push towards Windows 11, Microsoft made a strategic call. They discontinued WordPad, removed it entirely.
R.I.P. WordPad. I feel like it was the software equivalent of a spare tire, You never used it, but it was nice to know it was there.
A spare tire is a good analogy. But when they removed the spare tire, they realized they'd left a gap. Users still needed a quick way to write documents that were a little bit fancier than plain text, but not as heavy as, say, a full Word document.
So nature abhors a vacuum.
Exactly. So Microsoft decided to modernize Notepad to compensate. They wanted it to be more than just a scratch pad. And the key feature they introduced to bridge that gap was support for Markdown.
Okay, let's unpack Markdown for a second. I feel like tech people love it, and I see the files, those .md files, but for everyone else, it's just jargon. What is it, simply?
Think of Markdown as, I like to call it formatting for lazy people.
Formatting for lazy people. I like it already.
And I say that with the utmost respect because I use it every single day. It's a way to format text using plain characters, so you never have to lift your hands off the keyboard to use a mouse. You don't need a toolbar. If you want a word to be bold, you just put 2 asterisks around it.
Okay, simple enough.
And this is the important part. If you want to create a link, you put the text in brackets like click here and then the URL in parentheses right next to it.
So it's basically just shorthand. It's a secret code that tells the computer, make this look pretty.
Exactly. It's very popular with developers, technical writers. So Microsoft built this engine into the new Notepad. Now, Notepad isn't just displaying characters, it's reading them. It's interpreting them. If it sees that link code, it turns it into a clickable blue link.
And that sounds great on paper. Hey, look, Notepad is finally entering the 21st century.
Yeah.
But this is the deep dive, so we know that this new feature is exactly where the train came off the tracks.
This is the feature turned bug. By teaching Notepad how to understand and render Markdown, specifically the ability to create clickable links, they opened a door that really should have remained shut.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of this. This is the how-to. I'm sitting at my computer. I get a file. It's called notes.md. How does a simple link in that text file turn into remote code execution?
So the mechanism relies on how Notepad interprets those Markdown links we just talked about. An attacker creates a text file. Inside, there's a link. Maybe it says, click here for the invoice or see attached chart.
Okay, standard phishing stuff so far. I see a blue link. I assume it's a website.
Right. Usually a link starts with HTTP or HTTPS. Your browser handles that.
Yeah.
But the flaw here is that the attacker doesn't point the link to a website.
Oh.
They use what we call protocol handlers.
Protocol handlers. Sounds technical.
It's just the prefix. So instead of HTTP, they might use file. That tells Windows, don't go to the internet, look for a file right here on this machine.
Yeah.
Or they might use something like mzap installer, which tells Windows to launch the application installer.
Okay, but hold on. Windows is usually, it's like an overprotective parent. If I try to run some weird program, it usually screams at me. It pops up that box, unknown publisher, or are you sure you want to do this?
And that is the aha.
No way.
That is the core of this vulnerability. In this specific version of Notepad version 11.2510 and earlier, that safety mechanism was completely asleep at the wheel.
It just didn't ask.
It was bypassed entirely. If a user held down the Ctrl key, which is, the standard way to click a link in a text editor, and click that malicious link, Windows remains silent. No pop-up, no "are you sure?" No security warning whatsoever.
That is terrifying. So silent execution literally means silent.
Completely silent. The program just launches immediately. Now imagine the link points to a malicious script hosted on a remote server, what we call an SMB share. You click the link, and suddenly that code is running on your machine.
And what kind of permission does that code have? Is it running as some kind of guest, or is it running as me?
It runs with your permissions. And this is key. If you are logged in as an administrator, which, let's be honest, many home users are by default, the hacker is now an administrator.
So they have the keys to the kingdom.
They can install ransomware, they can steal your browser cookies, copy your files, anything. All because you clicked a link in a text file.
It really highlights how our assumptions about safety can be our downfall. We assume text files are inert, that they can't do anything. I worry about .exe files. I worry about weird zip files. I do not worry about readme.txt.
That assumption is a relic of the past, unfortunately. We have to update our mental models. A text file in 2026 is not the same as a text file in 1996. The engine under the hood has changed.
And credit where it's due, this discovery was made by security researchers Christian Papa, Alistair Gorniak, and Chen. When they published this, the reaction from the community seemed to be this mix of shock and, well, almost amusement.
Novel was the polite word used. But yes, it was shockingly easy. That's what spooked people. Usually an RC requires complex memory corruption, buffer overflows, really high-level coding wizardry.
And this?
This just required typing a line of text into a file.
The source material mentions you could just create a file, test.md, link it to the command prompt, and boom, it just pops open.
Exactly. Researchers were replicating it in minutes. They'd create a link, click it, and watch the calculator app pop open instantly. No warning dialogues, nothing.
The calculator app, the universal symbol for I have hacked your computer.
Exactly. If I can pop the calculator, I can pop the command prompt, and if I can pop the command prompt, I own the machine. It just demonstrated how broken the guardrails were in this new, modernized Notepad.
So obviously this couldn't stay broken. Microsoft had to step in. This brings us to Patch Tuesday, February 11, 2026.
Yes. Patch Tuesday, the holiday that every IT admin dreads and celebrates at the same time. Microsoft released a fix for CVE 2026-20CO841. They acknowledged the issue, labeling it improper neutralization of special elements. It's a fancy way of saying command injection.
But let's look closely at the fix itself, because the source material raises a really interesting point here. Did they remove the ability to link to files? Did they say, okay, Notepad shouldn't be launching apps?
No, they didn't. And this is where the critique comes in. They didn't strip the functionality. Instead, they added a speed bump.
A speed bump.
A dialog box. Now, if you're using the patched version and you click a link that isn't a standard web link, so if it starts with file or M settings, Notepad forces a pop-up to appear. It lists the protocol and asks the user to confirm they want to proceed.
So it's back to the are you sure method?
Correct.
Yeah.
It stops the silent execution. It can no longer trigger malware without the user seeing something.
But, and I feel like I know where you're going with this. We have a problem with those boxes, don't we?
We do. It's called alert fatigue.
Right. I see a box. I click the button that makes the box go away.
That is the human element, and it is the weakest link in cybersecurity. We have trained users for 30 years that if they want to get their work done, they have to click yes, accept, or allow. You put a roadblock in front of a user, they will find the fastest way to dismantle it.
So the hack isn't technically possible anymore silently, but
the conceptual vulnerability remains. The avenue is still open for social engineering. An attacker now just has to be a bit more persuasive. They have to write text in the document that says, you will see a security warning. This is normal. Please click yes to view your secure message.
And people will do it. We see it all the time. Click Enable Content to view this invoice.
Exactly. So while Microsoft patched the bug, the actual code failure, they didn't fix the design philosophy that caused it. The source material explicitly questions this. Why didn't they just block these dangerous protocols entirely within a text editor? Why does Notepad need to be able to launch an app installer?
That's a great question. If I'm writing a grocery list, I don't need to link to my system settings. If I'm writing code, I'm probably using a real code editor like VS Code, not Notepad.
It suggests a philosophy where functionality is prioritized over absolute security. They want the OS to feel seamless, they want everything to connect to everything else. But in security, connection is danger. We want sandboxing. We want isolation.
It's like giving the mailman the keys to your car because, well, he's already at the house, so why not let him borrow the sedan?
That is a fantastic analogy. It's convenient, sure, but it breaks the principle of least privilege. Notepad doesn't need car keys.
I want to zoom out a little bit here because this Notepad story didn't happen in a vacuum. You mentioned Patch Tuesday. This was just one of many fixes, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is a massive update batch.
Yeah.
We're looking at fixes for 60 days and 58 total flaws across the whole Microsoft ecosystem.
Yeah, the source material had these side headlines that were honestly just as alarming. There was a mention of something called SSH Stalker.
Right, a new Linux botnet. It's targeting cloud servers and using old-school IRC chat protocols to communicate. Sophisticated, aggressive stuff.
And there was a story about a hijacked Outlook add-in.
Yes, stealing thousands of accounts by compromising a legitimate tool people use for email signatures.
It really paints a chaotic picture, doesn't it? You have these sophisticated external threats like SSH Stalker, you have supply chain attacks in Outlook, and then right in the middle of it all, you have our dumb little friend Notepad betraying us.
It illustrates the tension in modern IT perfectly. On one hand, you have these highly complex external threats, but on the other hand, you have the internal threat of, bloatware or feature creep.
Yeah.
We want our tools to do more. We want Notepad to handle Markdown. We want Outlook to have add-ins.
But every time we add a yes and to the software, we're adding a new attack surface.
Precisely. Complexity is the enemy of security. Notepad was safe for 40 years because it was simple. The moment they made it complex, they made it vulnerable.
It's like we can't just be happy with a hammer. We have to attach a laser sight and Wi-Fi to the hammer, and then wonder why the battery explodes.
That is the struggle of modern software engineering. Marketing wants features. Security wants simplicity. Marketing usually wins.
And for the listener, this brings up a very practical point. We often ignore updates for the little things. You might rush to update your antivirus, but the Microsoft Store app updates. People let those slide.
Right. It's just Notepad. Why do I need to update it? It's not broken.
But this proves it is broken, or it was.
Exactly. This is why auto-update is your friend here. The fix for this Notepad flaw is pushed through the Microsoft Store. If you have that disabled or you ignore it because you think Store apps are just for games, you are leaving that silent backdoor open on your machine.
So check your Store updates. That's step one.
Step one. And step two is a mindset shift. You cannot trust a file based on its extension anymore.
So what does this all mean for us? We've gone from a text editor that did nothing to one that does rich formatting to one that accidentally let hackers run code silently. And now to a patched version that just asks, are you sure?
The takeaway is vigilance, but also a healthy dose of skepticism. You have to understand that the tools on your computer are changing under your feet. A text file isn't just text anymore. It's a container for code.
It really makes you think about trust. We trust these tools implicitly. We grew up with them.
And attackers leverage that trust. They know you won't suspect readme.txt. They are counting on that cognitive blind spot. They are counting on you seeing the word Notepad and just letting your guard down.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on one detail from the source regarding the fix again. Microsoft lists protocols like mailto.ms, mssettings.emo, file. The fact that Notepad is even aware of these feels like overkill.
It is part of the deep integration of the operating system. Windows wants a seamless experience where you can jump from a note to a setting or from a note to an email. But that seamlessness destroys the boundaries that keep us safe. Ideally, applications should be sandboxed, isolated. Notepad shouldn't know how to talk to the app installer. It shouldn't even know the app installer exists.
It's the difference between a house with distinct rooms and doors that lock and an open-plan loft where anyone who gets in the front door can see everything.
And right now, Windows is very much in an open-plan loft.
So we've covered the history, the hack, the fix, and the philosophy. It's been a wild ride through a very, very small application.
It's a reminder that there are no small applications in cybersecurity, only small vulnerabilities that lead to very big problems.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We usually leave you with a takeaway, but today I want to leave you with a question to chew on. We spend so much time worrying about the dark web or downloading viruses from sketchy websites or, falling for email scams. But we just learned that a simple text file on your desktop, the most basic unit of computing, can act as a silent trigger for malware.
It forces us to ask, is smarter software actually making us less safe? Do you need to rethink how much functionality we demand from our most basic tools?
Maybe dumb software was better. Something to think about next time you open a text file.
Thanks for listening, and stay safe out there.
Stay vigilant.